Welcome back to Dominant Mets Nation. Folks, I never thought I would have to make a video like this, but Francisco Lindor, the captain, not officially, but the captain in my eyes, has to do something that honestly shocked the hell out of me. Publicly calling out one of the young potential stars on the team, Luisangel Acuña, for potentially being bored and giving a lackluster effort. Folks, I don't care how you paint this brush, this scenario, it is unacceptable, unacceptable, unacceptable. We're going to get through the comments, the quotes, but folks, there was a lot of rumblings over the offseason. The Mets trading for Dylan Cease, the Mets trading for Luis Castillo. Everybody was potentially on the table as far as the Mets acquiring more talent. You want to know who the one player that a lot of Mets fans and probably the front office didn't want to deal? That was Luisangel Acuña. So, you think the kid, after having a very good stint at the end of the 2024 season, would come out with fire underneath him, wanting to prove to the whole team, the ball club, that he belongs. But apparently not. Apparently he needs more motivation. He needed this wake-up call. And folks, I think it was a light wake-up call that Lindor gave. If he's saying this publicly, I think that there is a major issue. And, thank God Lindor has the courage enough to address it. Luisangel Acuña probably has a lot more talent than we actually see. I see this kid having the sky's the limit with talent. That's my opinion. That is why when we had all these mock trades, I didn't want to trade this kid for virtually no one. I mean, if you want to trade me Alcantara or something like that, yeah, maybe we'll talk. But I didn't want to trade it for any 1 year rentals because I know how special this kid could be. But if the kid doesn't care and he's apparently bored, at this point in his career when he's literally proven nothing, folks, we have a problem. At age 23, Francisco Lindor had been in the major leagues for 3 years. He was a two-time All-Star. He was in the MVP top 10 twice already, a Gold Glove Award winner, a Silver Slugger. At the age of 23, Lindor smoked 33 home runs, 89 RBIs, batted .273, 505 slug, 850 OPS. Gaudy numbers for a 23-year-old, almost a 6 WAR. I mean, the guy was lighting literally lighting the MLB on fire, saying this, he was showing you he was the new blood of MLB. And you have Luisangel Acuña in this spring training camp literally having trouble making the team. But not because there's a lack of talent, but because there's a lack of effort. Folks, let me know what you think. But to me, a guy who had all the expectations in the world for this kid, I'm super, super disappointed. All right. So today, Acuna, he had a hit, so it kind of bumped up his numbers. But before today, Acuna was batting .225, 11 for 51 with just one extra base hit, one walk, 4 RBIs through his first 19 games. And that would have been fine. But when you hear that behind the scenes, it's about effort, that's when it kind of triggers me into saying, you know what? There might be a bigger issue at play unless it is corrected. Okay, he has a 500 OPS. Manager Carlos Mendoza feels Acuna needs to improve his pitch recognition. Acuna has had also a few miscues in other areas of his game. While he has stolen 4 bases this spring, he was picked off twice in a single game against the Miami Marlins, once by a right-handed pitcher and once by a lefty. Additionally, he has committed 2 errors defensively, though he has shown some positive flashes on that side of the ball. All right, so let's get into some of the Lindor comments that have been lighting, I would say, everywhere on fire. So Lindor goes, I think he plays bored in spring training, Lindor told MLB's Anthony DeComo. If the lights come on, then he's good. Last year in the minors, he was bored. Probably. He doesn't get amped up for it. I mean, folks, what a freaking indictment. Indictment for a guy like Lindor, who is such a team guy and such, like I said, he was born to be the captain. I mean, he says everything right. You try to get this guy upset or wrinkle him in an interview. Lindor knows how to answer every single question. He does it in a very, very good way. And for him to actually say this publicly screams that there is an issue. And if this guy, Luisangel Acuña, isn't getting up for spring training games and isn't getting up for, when he's in the minor leagues, like, what is his expectations of actually getting to the majors? Does he think his last name, and folks, his last name probably has gotten him a lot further than he should have been with his numbers. For quite frankly, it has. But does he think that's just going to give him an opportunity without him having to earn it? No, folks, I don't think that is the right situation. And you have a guy like Alexander Canario playing his behind off, and I hear that, potentially he may not even make the roster. The Mets may have to put him on waivers because he has no options. I mean, you got a guy giving his blood, sweat, and tears. Yeah, maybe he strikes out a bit, but that is a guy who is playing with heart, a 24-year-old. Now you got a 23-year-old who's playing very nonchalantly. I mean, folks, I mean, this is the attitude that I would say a lot of the Mets players had 3, 4, 5 years ago. But this is not the culture that the New York Mets want going forward. And this is why Francisco Lindor is addressing it. I guarantee behind the scenes, Francisco Lindor, Soto, Nimmo, Alonso, all the team leaders, obviously, they were able to see that this kid has all the talent in the world. He's just not putting in the work. And very nicely, this isn't the nice way of saying it, folks. Oh, he's just getting bored with this. He needs the lights to be on for him to really play. BS. BS. If you are bored and don't care now, that means there will be a problem. So are you going to tell me you're the type of guy that you're going to play, until you get a contract? I mean, this scares the hell out of me. I mean, he might not play the next couple of years. Then in year 5, year 6, yeah, I'm going to play for my contract year. And then all of a sudden you give him decent money. He's not going to care anymore. I don't like guys that have to be motivated to play. This is something that you should be born with, that, inner work ethic. I mean, there have been so many guys that if you force them to play, it will not work out. Big case in point, Mr. Anthony Rendon with the Los Angeles Angels. I mean, the guy was phenomenal with the Nationals. You saw what happened. He got a big contract, and he's done. He's done. And I'm not saying it's going to be to that extent. And if Luisangel Acuña produces anything like Anthony Rendon, you'd probably be through the roof if you're a Mets fan. But the fact of the matter is, like I said, this kid, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Has a great, I think mentally, he's a lot tougher than kids are at that age, at age 23. Seeing his brother, I think it's made him a lot tougher. But in terms of being entitled, in terms of him having that last name Acuna, I think it has put him in a mindset that he feels he deserves to be there. That is not the case. Everybody has to work. Everybody has to put in the work. And if other guys in the team have to make you care, folks, that is a big issue to me. And it could be a problem. It could be a problem. I don't know. We'll have to see. Hopefully, like I said, a few moments ago, hopefully this wake up call by Francisco Lindor is enough. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it is. I mean, the guy's got a great relationship with his brother Ronald. I'm pretty sure Ronald will comment on this as well. But you got to earn it right now, kid. You got to earn it. You got to go out there, show everybody that you deserve to be a major leaguer, because your 40 at bats last year when you hit couple home runs, 6 RBIs. Yes, it was a nice stretch. Yes, it was an important stretch. I gave the kid all the credit in the world, but that is not going to earn you, a spot on the roster. It's really not. I mean, he should be the starting second baseman, but Brett Beatty literally went out there and he took the job. Brett Beatty took the job, and that's what I like. I love it. I love when kids go out there. You hear Brett Beatty's attitude. You hear his work ethic. The kid really went out there and grabbed the job. That's what I like. I like that the Mets have a lot of guys in the infield. They have a lot of guys in the outfield, and this is causing them to have this competition. And from what we hear, Acuna is not really focused. And you know what? We're gonna have to see. But the kid is gonna be the major leagues. This is the major leagues. It's not the minor leagues. If you're not going to be engaged for a 162 game season, and folks, don't tell me. I know when the bright lights. That's what Lindor is saying. He's going to be there. But folks, there are the dog days of August. There's going to be almost half the season where the pressure is not there and the lights aren't the brightest, when there's only 20,000 people on a Tuesday cold night in late April, or a very hot day in the middle of August. There's going to be many times where the energy is not there, and you have to have something inside of you to motivate you to be great. That's what the good players have. They have the inner motivation. They are able to motivate themselves. And if he is not able to motivate himself, I believe he will be in trouble. He will be in trouble. So, folks, that is my opinion on the Luisangel Acuña and the Lindor take. And good for Lindor. I mean, on the flip side, you have to really like what you saw from Lindor, being a leader, trying to nip this in the bud early on. I mean, Lindor could have shut his mouth saying, you know what, young kid, he's got to learn. Let me close my mouth. Let me not embarrass him. Because, folks, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. Publicly, for him to be bored. And in fact, they actually asked him, and he basically confirmed it. Yeah, I don't have the exact quote, but he basically confirmed that, yes, he has trouble getting up for spring training. I mean, folks, that is tone deaf. Tone deaf. I mean, almost like, it's a badge of honor. Like, yeah, I need the lights to be on for me to play at the high level. Wow. Completely tone deaf. Hopefully the coaches, Lindor, they get to this kid and kind of like put him on, the right track, because obviously you need to play at a high level at any time you step onto the field, because any one of your performances, they are steps, especially if you're not an established major leaguer. And he's not an established major leaguer. He's certainly not. So, I mean, hopefully, Ronald, somebody talks to him to get to this kid. But all right, folks, enough about Luisangel Acuña. Let me see. Let me actually do this. I didn't get a chance to ask you in the beginning of the video, but if you can, like the video, really helps out the videos. You know that. Subscribe if you like the content. If you are an MLB Mets fan, come on, join. Let's go. We got opening day coming up in a few days, so we have a lot of excitement coming up. I can't wait for that. But what I want to do is the game today, they played against the Yankees. I did like a couple of things I saw. One of the things I did like was Nimmo continuing to stay hot. Today, another couple big hits, 3 RBIs. Literally, he is driving the ball. He is driving the ball. So Nimmo is really looking good going into the season. So you got to like that. Nimmo's probably going to be cleaning up most of the year, batting behind Alonso. So you really like to see that. Again, I still am very worried about his knee, but let's hope for the best. Let's hope for the best. That lineup has the potential to put a lot of damage. But what I want to say is Juan Soto, really playing the Yankees, Juan Soto came right out into the limelight. And the fact that he came to the Mets, that decision also came to the forefront. Everybody asking him, oh, so why did you want to go to the Mets? And we have to live this and rehash this all over. And it's really interesting because so you hear, oh, it was family. And then a couple of days ago, you hear that, okay, it was between the Mets and the Yankees, and the Yankees were the favorites in the beginning of the whole sweepstakes. But Soto kind of looked at the long-term outlook and said that, okay, it might be close to the next 5 to 6 years. Probably said that out of respect to his teammates currently on the team, don't want to offend his friends. But then he said after that, he believes the Mets have a better long-term outlook, a better long-term plan. And, folks, it's really hard to see like 7, 8 years. I'm pretty sure Cohen and Stearns did a great job depicting that long-term picture, and that's what you got to give them credit, as more credit as well. And then you hear family aspect was another reason, but there are so many different reasons that you kind of hear over time where it was the Mets over the Yankees, even though he did say the Yankees were the early favorites. But again, you got to give Cohen and you got to give Stearns all that credit for showing Soto the overall vision. And then they asked Soto, how are you going to feel? How do you think the Yankee fans are going to treat you? And he basically said, I'm going to expect the worst. And folks, honestly, Yankee fans, whatever they want to say, Yankee fans are hurt. They're hurt. They are hurt. When they're going to be looking at, Ben Rice, and I don't know who the DH is. Giancarlo Stanton is not there anymore. But their lineup, Bellinger might be decent. Judge, obviously he's 1 year older. He shouldn't drop off that much. But folks, I do expect this guy to drop off at some point. I really do. I really do. That's the guy you really built the whole team around. So I can kind of really see, even this year. And I think, like I said, he wanted to be political. He wanted to say, oh, the reason was, oh, I see it 6, 7 years in the future. All right, Nostradamus. Okay, I think this year he sees the Mets of having a more solidified team, more solidified lineup. The pitchers, yeah, the Yankees had their advantage and the starting rotation early on, but as you could see, losing Garrett Cole, losing Luis Gil, it's a lot closer in the starting rotation than one would might think, especially at the end of April when Manaea comes back. You have Manaea, you have Sanga, Clay Holmes, in my opinion, could be a number 2. Peterson has that that ability to be a number 2, and that 4 you put up against the Yankees. Rodon's been often injured, and then obviously their best pitcher is Max Fried, Stroman. Clark Smith. So that 4 of the Mets is very comparable to that 4 of the New York Yankees. So I wouldn't say the New York Yankees have a heads and shoulders advantage in the starting rotation anymore. I wouldn't. You would. You can't now. 2 of the best pitchers got injured. Then they made a couple trades to trade away some of their extra depth in the starting rotation. So you really can't say it. So the Mets are even in the starting rotation. They're probably even in the bullpen, and they have a superior lineup. They have superior depth. The Yankees have no depth. They have no depth. So that's where I think the Mets franchise, in the eyes of Soto, what he saw, and then he also saw the unlimited resources of Steve Cohen, and he saw the lengths that Steve Cohen, David Stearns, Alex Cohen, the whole franchise was willing to go to. So it was quite obvious which team he would be more happy on in terms of winning. And then also, too, the Mets were 2 games short against going to the World Series, and they look better at the dot than they look better against the Dodgers. Let me clarify that than the Yankees did. So, but the Yankees were playing the Dodgers with Juan Soto. Now you take Juan Soto, you put him on the Mets. That makes the Mets even that much better, and they were already competitive against the Dodgers. And folks, I know a lot of people, a lot of fans around baseball are already handing the World Series to the Dodgers. I wouldn't count things before they happen. I really wouldn't. I mean, yes, the Dodgers are very talented, but they do have some age on that team. They have a lot of age on the team. In fact, when I went down the average age, I believe the average age of the lineup was 31 years old for the Dodgers, and it was 27.6 for the Mets. So the Mets have a lot more youth in their lineup. And you know, I gotta see Shohei Ohtani remain healthy. Yamamoto, he was injured last year. Blake Snell is always injured. So, you know, there is a lot of uncertainty with the Dodgers, folks. So let's see what happens. Let us see what happens. And I think David Stearns is one of the best in season general managers / president. So in terms of him making decisions, I mean, this guy last year rebuilt the bullpen two or three times on the freaking fly. On the freaking fly. The second half of the year, the starting rotation was almost lights out. I mean, this guy was able to transform this organization, this team, this ball club. You know, I said it in my last video, the three best value plays that Stearns was able to acquire for 2024 were number three, I said Maton, number two, Shomanaya, and number one, Carlos Mendoza, the leader, the orchestrator of the on-field success, a guy who is in his first year, guy who should have had way more struggles than he did. He was able to keep this team together and thrive. So Carlos Mendoza in year two, I expect more. I expect more success, and I expect this team to do great things. I expect there to be more. You know, there were steals last year. Like I mentioned, guys overachieved in terms of the value that we were able to acquire them. I expect Clay Holmes to, be a very great, surprising pick. Griffin Canning, Alexander Canario. Hopefully he makes the team. But Stearns is great at assessing value, acquiring value. And folks, I'm super, super excited. So let me know what you think. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, we're going to get more content going because we got the season right now, folks. We can cover games, cover events, cover quotes, cover what's going on. It's a lot more exciting during the season. So please stick around. I need you. I want you here. So again, comment, like, do all the good stuff because it puts the video out more spaces. Share the video. Do whatever you can. I do appreciate it. And I will speak to everybody very, very soon. And let's go Mets as always.